This is Wendy Wild filling in for Bartell on this morning's KTU Cares. And I am so excited to have the one and only Dr. Fandos from Alluring Age with me here this morning. Hi.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thanks for waking up early and joining us.
Oh, that's okay. We love it. We love being here.
Well, it's been great because I will say I have gotten to experience firsthand Alluring Age, which is an experience. It's not just a medical office or a spa or anything like that. It's something really unique. And I'm hoping that you can tell our listeners, how does this differ from a traditional aesthetic practice?
Well, it's very different in the sense that on traditional practices, you usually come in for a treatment. Someone looks at your skin, at your hair, and they say, okay, you need laser, you need a PRP or Botox or whatever, or fillers, and that's it. But the truth is that when there are changes in your skin, it actually it means that there are metabolic processes underneath that are causing those problems. So there's something happening to your body, basically, and you can see that reflecting on your skin. So by having, dark circles under your eyes or wrinkles or losing hair, it doesn't mean that you're just getting old. It means that there are issues with your hormones, your nutrients, your gut that might be causing those issues. So that if you don't fix that, then how you're going to look, with just getting Botox. So yes, that's a quick fix, but eventually things are going to come back. So the difference is that we look at your inside and we fix your inside out. So we fix the problems with gut, hormones, and then you get the aesthetic treatments so that the results are going to be more significant and will last a lot longer.
Yeah, so we're not just fixing surface level things. We're fixing things that could affect skin health, gut health, mental health.
Exactly. So gut health is probably the most important issue that nobody really knows about. Gut is where everything starts. I would say we age faster if we don't take care of our gut. If you think about it, there's 100 trillion bacteria living in your gut. So it's a source of infection if you don't have the appropriate bacteria. And most of us don't. And when you don't have the right colonies living in your gut, you develop something called leaky gut. So leaky gut means that there is more permeability in your gut, and a lot of nutrients and substances make it through the gut when they shouldn't. Partially digested proteins, for example. So let's say you eat an apple, and the apple doesn't get broken down to the smallest unit of amino acids, and it gets absorbed through the leaky gut, your immune system is going to see a partially digested piece of apple, and it's going to react. And that's how you become allergic to food. Because
sadly, this is not the first time I've heard of this before. But I was going to ask you, it does seem like a lot of people do have these food allergies or intolerances.
Yeah, exactly, because they have leaky gut. And by having that issue, then you can become allergic to virtually anything that you eat that doesn't get broken down to, the smallest unit of amino acids, for example. And it's, if you don't address that, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse, because once you eat that food that you become allergic to, that creates more inflammation. And that inflammation is going to make you become allergic to another food that creates more inflammation. And then you enter this vicious cycle that just keeps getting worse and worse. And this is what we see every day.
Yeah, sadly, I know this all too well.
Yeah.
So, for someone who's listening who may feel fine, why is proactive vitality care so important before any issues arise at all?
So, for example, most people feel fine because these processes might be happening, but they're not significant enough to give you symptoms. The problem is that if you wait long enough, eventually you're going to develop something. Inflammatory processes in the gut is the source of autoimmune disorders, eczema, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis, to name a few. But inflammation in general is a big problem. Inflammation is the common denominator of any disease process.
Yeah, the itis. right?
It's itis.
It's
yes.
the itis. I always joke around and say it's the itis, but there's some truth to that. And if you can get the inflammation down, you can start feeling better.
100%. And it's not the issue with this is not a one-time deal. You need to constantly work on your gut and in your inflammation to keep it low. The lower your inflammatory responses are, the less chances that you're going to have heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and also your skin and hair, because hair loss is an inflammatory issue. You know, when there is inflammation on the follicle in your scalp, the hair becomes thin, and then you wind up losing it. So you need to stop that inflammatory process in order for your hair to grow back. Of course, you can do a lot of treatments for it, like PRP.
Which you offer too.
Correct. So that's the beauty of our practice. So we are, one-stop shop. So we offer everything from A to Z. So because people, once they don't feel good and you're able to help them with how they feel and treat their symptoms and you improve the inflammatory processes, now they want to look better.
Yeah. And it is all related, though. I think like when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you usually look good. Right.
Exactly. And also we have a lot of people that come in just for aesthetic treatments. And once we explain to them what's the reason as to why they have the skin issues, and we offer them to, look into that further, we take a deep dive into their health, and we find a ton of different problems.
And you do the dietary consults too.
We do everything. Yes, we do. My partner is a nutritionist, and she offers high-end testing, including but not limited to genetic testing, mitochondrial testing. We do GI mapping and Zoomer too, which is basically we look at all the different foods that you eat, and we see how your body reacts to them. Commonly people get reaction to gluten and they don't even know.
Hi, nice to meet you. It's funny because I learned this later in life that I had this gluten sensitivity. I was basically poisoning myself for years and years and having all the bloat and the inflammation. And as soon as I cut gluten out of my diet, it really made a huge impact.
Exactly. So gluten is very inflammatory, and you don't need to be celiac. That's the extreme.
Right.
Because when you're a celiac, basically gluten is a true poison to you, and you're going to get a lot of symptoms when you eat it.
Well, it can damage your internal organs.
It can.
For me, I'm going to be upset, but it's thankfully not that serious.
But those are just the extreme cases, and that's only maybe 1% of the population. But I would say easily 50 to 60% of his population have a reaction to gluten. They just don't know about it.
Right. I just thought I was lactose intolerant for the longest time. And I was like, wait a second, it's not just the dairy.
But
it's not just the dairy, which also is inflammatory.
Dairy is also a problem.
It's funny because like a while back when I was experiencing these problems, I did sit down with a dietitian, and basically she said, okay, you need to be on a gluten-free, dairy-free, low FODMAP, anti-inflammatory diet. So I looked at all the charts and I'm like, cross-examining them, and I'm like, oh, is there anything I can eat?
Yeah,
what's going on? I blame all the processed foods, though. I do think that that's a huge part of the problem as far as the American diet goes.
That is absolutely true. But now with this high-end testing I was alluding to, we can see exactly what foods your body reacts to and which ones don't. So you can have a diet that you know for sure what is that you're reacting. So, it's easy to say, oh, don't eat gluten, don't eat this, but there are a lot of simple foods that you think they're healthy and you might be reacting to. For example, I had my own test done a few months ago, and I'm reacting to spinach and tomatoes and cucumbers.
And can it change over time?
Yes. So usually gluten, you don't come back from that. But the other ones that are low, they have a much less inflammatory activity, like the ones that I just mentioned. Tomatoes are very acidic, but I would say cucumbers and broccoli and spinach. Once you heal, I'm pretty sure you can get back on those. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's listen, the gut is very complex, and if you don't really take care of it, you're going to have problems. And
I made it a mission for myself, and I know you're talking about all of this amazing testing that you can do at Alluring Age. For me personally, I had a food journal that I jokingly called Fart Book. And I kept this for about a year. And I would write down everything I ate, everything that I reacted to, things I did not react to, just so I could get a clearer picture of what was going on with my health. Would you recommend that sort of action for any of our listeners?
100%, because if you're having symptoms, you definitely have a problem there. The issue is the ones that you are eating and you don't know if you're reacting to. There's so many other foods that you could be reacting and you don't have any symptoms. And the other important thing to know is there's a test called GI map that looks at your bacteria composition in your gut. We have friends and we have foes. And there are many bacteria that are really important that you have them in your gut because the bacteria have a symbiotic relationship with us. And they help us absorb nutrients and vitamins and even make hormones. 90% of your serotonin and dopamine is made in the gut.
And isn't that brain health?
That's brain health. So there is a direct connection between your gut and your brain. It's called the gut-brain axis. So the gut knows how much and when to produce serotonin and dopamine because there is a direct connectivity. So let's say you are in a stressful situation where you need more dopamine or serotonin to calm you down because serotonin helps with anxiety. So there is something called the vagus nerve, which is a very large nerve that connects the brain with the gut. And it's like a highway. It's a super highway where there is bidirectional connection between the two. So then it will tell the gut to make more serotonin. So serotonin goes into the bloodstream and it makes you calm down and be able to face that situation. But if you don't have those bacteria that participate on the synthesis of serotonin, you're going to get more and more anxious.
Is that why when you're having either an anxiety attack or you just feel nervous that you have that butterfly feeling in your belly or
yes,
or worse?
Or worse. And because due to that bidirectional communication between the brain and the gut, there are certain neurotransmitters that are being released in the gut and increases the motility, and you may wind up having diarrhea or nausea or vomiting when you have an extremely stressful situation.
That's so interesting because we've all heard of that happening before. This is not far-fetched. Where can people read more about this brain-gut connection?
Well, AI. So now if you have an AI agent, you can get a lot of information there. This is not secret science. It's all available. There are multiple studies. There is so much going on. Unfortunately, traditional medicine hasn't caught up to it. And many doctors are not really promoting gut health. For example, the use of PPIs, which are antiacid medicines like omeprazole, pantoprazole, all of those are really bad for you. And I see that's being prescribed left and right, like if it's vitamin C.
Is that like Pepcid is what you're
Correct.
saying? Okay.
Yes. And what happens is people use it because they feel that they have acidity in their stomach. They get heartburn or GERD. And that usually happens not because there is too much acid in your stomach. It's just because the sphincters are not working properly, and that sometimes is due to the bacteria overgrowth that is not the natural one, and it can cause that problem. But if you take an antacid and you lower your stomach acidity, now you're going to allow pathogens to thrive. When you have really high acid, they get killed in the stomach acid. So there's those, for example, H. pylori, which is a very common pathogen that causes ulcers in your stomach. And if you have low acidity, that pathogen is going to grow and it's going to cause a lot of problems in your gut. And taking antacid is just going to make that problem worse. That's why when patients come to my practice, I try to take them off and put them on regimens to improve the stomach acid and improve the bacteria population so that they don't have to take that.
So instead of there being some sort of prescribed medication, it would be more of like a lifestyle change is what you're saying.
100% dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and also supplements that they can take that would improve that.
Like a probiotic.
Correct.
Do you have any favorite probiotics? Our listeners are dying to know.
So there are many. Listen, Lactobacillus, Akkermansia. You want to hear brands?
Well, no, just like, strains, I guess.
Yeah, the strains are Akkermansia is my favorite one because that helps protect the gut lining and also participates in the formation of serotonin and dopamine. So it's like taking an antidepressant, but those are like little mini factories of hormones.
So interesting. It's interesting how it all comes together. The human body is just fascinating.
It is fascinating, and it is all interconnected. And unfortunately, when I went to med school, I was trained like in silos. Like you have cardiology, you have gastroenterology, you have pulmonology, you have different specialties, and it feels like there is no interconnection between them. And but in real life, it's all completely interconnected, and one system will affect the other. So our body is a system of systems. So it's like a symphony, So if you have one system that's not working well, it's going to affect the rest. And that's why you have to have this holistic approach. And that's why, my the main thing that I tell my patients is that we fix you from inside out. So aesthetics is very important. Well, want to look well, but again, that is the manifestation of a metabolic process that is going in your system that needs to be fixed. It needs to be addressed.
It really is such a different experience. And I think I told Jessica here, your assistant or manager, I don't know, what's her official title?
She is our regional manager.
Regional manager. So first off, the whole staff super welcoming as soon as I walked in the door. So thank you for that. But also I'm like, it feels like a doctor's office, but it also feels like more than that. It feels like a team of professionals who all specialize in different areas. And it's really it's different because it's one place you can go that addresses so many different needs.
Exactly. So, we want the patients to have a different feel. You're used to going to your primary care doctor or cardiologist, and basically there is this vertical relationship where kind of you're told what to do. You get a diagnosis and do blood work or whatever they do to find out what is wrong with you, and then you get a pill, you get a medication for it, and that's it, and you go home. At our practice, education is the most important part, where I spend, we as a team spend quite a bit of time explaining as to what's going on with you, what are the reasons why you feel that way, and what do you need to do about it, so that once you understand what goes on with you, you become a more active participant in your health, and you're more motivated to maintain whatever protocol we decide to do, and the success is really is much easier to obtain that way.
What's your opinion on exercise?
Exercise is as important or more important than diet. It is super important. If you think about it, we come in, from when first initially we were in caves, 100 million years ago, and we had to walk around and run to get food. And our genetics hasn't changed.
We just press a button on our phone and it shows up to our door.
Exactly. So our body's made to be moving and exercising. So when you're sedentary, you're creating a lot of problems. That's problem number one. And people don't realize how important it is to exercise. And I tell all my patients, you don't have to, do heavy exercising, but you need to lift weights at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Or walk. Walking
every day. You need to do a bare minimum 10,000 steps a day. That's why I recommend all my patients to watch that, because there is an app on your phones that will monitor that if you can if you don't have a wearable, one of those devices.
And it holds you accountable, which I think is important, because it's the new year and people are falling off of their resolutions at this point. So
yeah, and once you get into it, it's kind of addictive. It's because you kind of challenge yourself, and it's good. That's a good way to do it.
Make it a game.
Absolutely, and diet is very important, because we're eating all these highly processed foods, and that creates a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I always tell my patients, I ask people, do you know what the rate of heart disease was in 1930?
No.
0.
What?
0. And then you look at 1935, and they started to see heart attacks. And that's when processed foods were introduced into the American diet. And then In 1955.
The TV dinners. That was more the 60s, right?
Yes. But 1955, they introduced hydrogenated oils into the diet. And that increases. And the worst one was in the 70s with the use of high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you're on a low FODMAP diet, that is a big no-no.
Oh, my God.
I have to read every label.
It is. And it's everywhere. It's on every processed food that you can imagine.
In America, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Overseas, I feel like they don't use it as much.
You know, I was just away. I came back from vacation. We were talking about this before. I was in Vietnam, very far from here. But people were amazing, very nice, and the food was spectacular. But you know what? I could not see in the entire 2 weeks that I was there a single obese person. Not one.
Wow.
Not one. And it's credible. So they don't have these highly processed diets with high corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, or processed foods. They have all more natural vegetables and proteins that they eat every day, even though they have a stressful life like we all do because they don't really make enough money. But I didn't see obese people walking on the streets. I was amazed compared to what we have here in the U.S.
Well, we can do our best to change things around. Could you share a success story that really illustrates how internal healing transformed not just appearance, but just quality of life? Is there one single case that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, yeah. So I have a patient, really nice woman, 45 years old, who had a lot of gut issues, tremendous amount of gut issues. She was diagnosed with a condition called gastroparesis. I don't know if you know what that means.
Oh, that's like after you eat, it comes right back up, right?
Well, it's a condition where your stomach doesn't move, right? So your stomach is supposed to contract.
Yeah.
So then keeps things moving down the small intestine and then the large intestine. So in her situation, her gut wasn't moving. So whatever she ate, it will stay there and eventually it comes back up. If it's not going down, it's going to come back up. So it got so bad to the point that they had to put a feeding tube into her stomach.
Poor woman.
But not only that, the feeding tube was failing because she was still getting food into her gut, and the gut wasn't moving, so it was coming out the feeding tube. So they wound up putting IV parenteral nutrition through an IV. They put a port on her. So it got so bad to the point that the port got infected. She wound up with something called sepsis, which is an infection of her entire body, and she wound up in the ICU. So she sends me an email because I met her through my pain management practice, and she was telling me her story. I said, you have to come into our Alluring Age practice. But this is before she even was able to make it. So she sends me an email while I was away on vacation saying, I'm in the ICU, and they want to remove my stomach because it's not working. And I said, please do not let them do that. Let them just treat your infection, have them remove the port, and then I'll see you next week. And we put her through all the testing, the GI testing and mitochondrial testing, genetic testing. And I'm telling you, this woman changed completely. Her face, when I first saw her, she was like really pale, gray looking with eye circles underneath her eyes, losing hair. And now she looks amazing. Her skin is bright, her is dark black, and she's eating, she's feeling great after a year of treatments.
That's it.
It took,
considering what her life was like before that.
So we have to do a whole gut cleansing protocol. So clean out her gut because her gut was colonized by really bad bacteria that were causing these problems over and over. And her gut wasn't moving because these bacteria were not releasing the hormones that you need for your gut to contract. So by eliminating the bad bacteria and then repopulating her gut with the good probiotics, she started seeing a change. And then we added enzymes and a lot of other products and supplements, and slowly but surely she got better and better. And now not only she's doing great, but now she's actually working in our practice.
That's incredible. Oh.
That's incredible. And
that's incredible.
Yeah.
What a story.
yeah, it's an amazing story because she loves to. So we thought it was a great idea for her to work with us because she asked for it. She goes, this changed my life. I want to be able to
Give back to
give back.
others.
Yes.
Oh,
and then she's
I'm
working in
getting
our practice now.
emotional. Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So in addition to the functional medicine and the aesthetics, of course, Basil, we love him. You have Pina who works with you as well.
Correct. Pina is my partner, and she's a nutritionist by trade, and she specializes on the high-end testing that I was discussing before. So it is great to have the ability to do this testing now because we're used to do blood work, and blood work is kind of a late marker of what goes on. For something to show in blood, you have to have enough of that condition to be picked up on this test. But now with the new testing, for example, one of them is called ME screen.
Oh.
That stands for mitochondrial efficiency screen. That allows us to look at your mitochondria. Your mitochondria are the tiny organelles inside the cell, and they're the battery pack of the cell. They basically allow the cell to function at full tilt if they're functioning, if they're all active. So by doing this test, I can predict what part of your body is not working well, which ones are working well, and what you can do about it before you even develop a condition or a disease. So that's one of them. Genetic testing is another thing. It's huge because it allows me to see what works for you, what doesn't work, what foods are good for you, which ones are not, what type of exercise. Let's talk about, for example, coffee.
Yeah.
Everybody drinks coffee,
please?
right? But coffee, if you're a fast metabolizer, coffee is great for you. Coffee has a lot of antioxidant effects, anti-inflammatory. But if you have the appropriate enzymes to metabolize it. Now, if you happen to be a slow metabolizer, you're going to have a lot of problems. Coffee can accumulate in the liver, and it can turn into intermediate metabolites that can cause hypertension, heart disease, and other problems. And the only way you're going to know that is by genetic testing. So that, that's why we live in an area where we call it precision medicine. It's not, one size fits all anymore. Now, by doing this testing, we can tell exactly what's good for you, because something that might be food for you might be poison for someone else.
So here's the question. I'm one of our listeners. I want to get started with this. I want to get I want to get some Botox first off, but I also want to get a clear picture of my health. Where do I start? Who do I call and what do I say?
Well, by calling our office, we offer initial consultations at no charge. We send patients for blood work just to get a preliminary idea of what they are at and what needs to be done. And then based on that, then we can come up with a plan of care that it includes, aesthetics and also hormonal replacement, gut health, nutrients, supplements, sleep, diet, and exercise.
Wow. So it's not just separate departments. You all are working together.
We work as a team. We work as if we're all one. We constantly communicate between each other, and when there's a patient that has an issue on one part, we take care of the rest.
That's really beautiful. So how do they reach Alluring Age?
They can do it through our website at alluringage.com or calling our phone number, which I don't remember it. But
we have our fabulous manager here.
She doesn't remember it
She
either.
definitely has a business card. You want to repeat that?
631-517-0129.
And you heard it here. Dr. Fandos, thank you so much for coming from Alluring Age to visit us here at KTU Cares. This has been such an engaging conversation. I'm going to be Googling and AIing everything after this.
AI, that's the beauty of it. Now with the technology that we have available, it's all at your fingertips. Because it's like I said before, this is not secret science. It's available. There are many studies done on gut health and hormones and nutrients and everything. So it's all available. You just have to spend the time and do it.
Yeah, I want to know all the things.
Yes.
Any last words you have for our listeners today?
Yes. Gut health, sleep, hygiene, exercise. Please do those three things. By having a good diet. If you do that, you have more than 50% of the battle right there. Eating processed foods and not sleeping well, not managing stress, it's only going to play against you over time and make you sick. And once you develop a condition, then it's very difficult to work backwards. So yes, very important to pay attention to that. Please, sleep is very important, exercise and diet.
So what role does regenerative aesthetics play in achieving long-term results? And how do Fazil and Stephanie contribute to this process?
Oh, they are a fundamental piece of what we do. So it's very important to understand what regenerative medicine or aesthetics mean. People know about Botox, which is basically a toxin made by a bacteria that you inject in your muscle and it blocks the muscle contraction, right? But it's not a natural product. I mean, it is a natural product, but not natural to your body. It's made by bacteria. Same thing with fillers. Fillers is a foreign body that you're injecting in your face, and that creates an inflammatory reaction, and it creates swelling. And by creating that swelling from the inflammation, it makes the wrinkles better. But none of these are natural products. By utilizing regenerative aesthetics, we are harnessing your body's ability to heal itself from inside out.
Are you talking about PRP?
Exactly.
Oh.
So I was just going to go to that. So PRP, it stands for platelet-rich plasma, and also PRF, which is platelet-rich fibrogen. So what we do is we draw blood and we spin it down and we separate the plasma that is very rich in a lot of growth factors. You have vascular growth factors, you have skin growth factors, and by concentrating that and you inject it in specific areas where you need it the most, your body is going to heal it from inside out, as opposed to injecting a foreign body. So you're regenerating your own skin, utilizing
your own material.
Your own materials, exactly.
Wow.
The difference here is that your body has the ability to do it. It's just like it's everywhere from head to toe. But by doing this, you are able to concentrate in one area. So there's going to be a lot more activity, regenerative activity in the area where you inject that gel. And there's something called Easy Gel that we use where we mix the PRF or PRP with albumin, and it creates like an actual gel.
Like filler.
It's
but
a
natural.
filler, but it's natural because it's made of the same. First of all, it's made of your own blood plus albumin, which is a protein that our body needs for cellular function. So by mixing all of that and you put it into the face, now you have all the ingredients that you need to fix your skin and make it look better. Because you have all the growth factors and you have the architects in there. They're special cells that direct the growth factors on how to repair each different layer of the skin. So it's a huge difference because you're utilizing your own ability to heal from inside out.
Really, it's incredible. And I just love how you really do it all at Alluring Age.
Yeah, like I said, it's a one-stop shop. We love saying that. And I'm very happy and very proud of the team that we have because, we're able to not only make you look better, but most importantly, make you feel better.
Wise words there. Dr. Fandos, thank you so much for joining KTU Cares.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.